Joining us now is former Republican Senator Lincoln Chafee of Rhode Island. He has had a complicated relationship with the Republican Party. After losing his re-election bid in 2006, he officially left the party to become an independent. He endorsed Barack Obama earlier this year. Senator Chafee, thank you for taking time to join us tonight.
My pleasure, Rachel.
It seems to me that the lesson the Republican Party may be taking from this presidential defeat is that they weren't ruthless enough. Senator McCain didn't play the Reverend Wright card early enough, often enough, or at all at the end. They didn't make Senator Obama scary enough. Do you get the sense that the GOP thinks that is the lesson to learn from last night, and are you concerned about that if that's the case?
Yes, and I'm not surprised. I expect some of the right-wing talk show people you mentioned, and even the Rush Limbaughs, and the Bill O'Reillys, and the Sean Hannitys, to immediately start out on this. And that strategy, the Karl Rove strategy, if you will, of energizing the base, motivating the base, it naturally divides the country. And in the past, it's been good at winning elections for Republicans, but terrible at governing. The Republicans have failed at governing. They've been great at winning elections by dividing the country and energizing the base, but then they've been an utter failure at governing because once you divide the country, it's so difficult to govern. But now they can't even win elections. So they're bankrupt on both cases. They failed to govern, and now they failed to win elections.
In looking at the reasons for Senator McCain's defeat, a lot of people on the right have said, well, it's really about the economy. If we hadn't had this economic collapse, he would have won this, or at least would have had a shot. It strikes me that that is a weird thing to call on as an excuse for electoral defeat. The idea that you would accept that you can't win when the issue is the economy and not even try to sell the idea that your party does have the right answers on the economy. Do you feel like there is an economic vision around which the Republican Party will recoalesce?
Well, don't forget that Bush Cheney and the Republican Congress inherited a surplus, a historic surplus, and squandered it in 8 short years. So I blame a lot of this economic meltdown on the lack of discipline the Republican Party showed in their leadership. We took a surplus and we squandered it with tax cuts, which cut our revenue, and watched our expenditures, whether it's the wars that we have overseas, or whether it's the farm subsidies that came back, or whether it's the prescription drug benefit to Medicare, all very, very expensive. And, of course, a whole new Homeland Security, federal bureaucracy. These are all un-Republican type of initiatives. And that's, I think, the reason we're in this economic meltdown right now, because we lost all fiscal discipline. And I used to argue in my Republican caucus when I was in the Senate, it breaks my heart to hear the Democrats talking about fiscal discipline. That used to be such a Republican virtue, and it's completely been torn to shreds under the Bush-Cheney administration.
I am concerned, I have to say, moving forward and thinking about the specific policy challenges that lay ahead for the Obama administration. I'm concerned that what the Republican Party might try to coalesce around is not just fiscal discipline, but specifically anti-spending, that they'll become a force for sort of a Herbert Hoover-style response to the economic crisis, that they will oppose any spending that might be seen as a counter-cyclical force to try to save the economy. Do you see any risk that that is what the party will become, particularly around the issue like backlash to the bailout?
Yes, I do. Exactly as you mentioned, that backlash to the bailout, the House voting against it, particularly the Republican caucus, at a time that maybe we needed to have that investment. But I do think it would be difficult for the Republican Party to turn on a dime, if you will, to be the party that was the spend, spend, spend party over the last 8 years as I went through all those programs, adding to the federal spending program, at the same time cutting our revenues, to all of a sudden turn on a dime and say that we're going to be a party that's not going to be in favor of any kind of spending.
Senator Lincoln Chafee, former senator from Rhode Island, became a political independent in 2007. Thank you so much for your time tonight, sir. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.